What is going on, guys? It's Ryan here with another Dent Digest live show. How are you? Got a special guest, Randy. How are you?
Awesome, man. Glad to be here.
So I don't know if you guys don't know Randy. He's been in the industry for quite a while, and he does a thing called the PDR interviews. And I've been watching them since day one. You know, it's really in-depth interviews on techs, on industry leaders. It really interests me just how you dig so deep in with these guys. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's it is. It is. You learn a lot, and you learn that everybody's human, and we have feelings, and we have scars, and we have trophies, and we have, you know, hot wives and divorced wives and kids, and we're all human.
Yeah.
We're all dent techs, and but we're all human, and I think that's kind of been something I've kind of focused on was really, everybody on Facebook. But you see their names pop up, you see comments they make, and it's easy to judge people by those comments. And I really wanted to do something a little bit different, as you are too, and that was really kind of indulge and so that we all can get to know each other a little bit better without, or at least maybe some of our images of people might open up a little bit more and help us be more open-minded.
Yeah. So I want to we'll get into that a little more in depth. I'm going to pick your brain a little bit. So I hope you ate your Wheaties today.
All right.
So last week we had John from Mobile Tech RX on, kind of went through the new updates with their software, with the price of dent and, their advanced analytics that they have that came out. It was really interesting. I actually used some of the tips that John brought on the show last week to this week on a hail car that I did. Just little things, dollars and cents.
Sure.
So it was definitely helpful for me. And I'm a huge advocate for Mobile Tech RX. I mean, it's increased my sales and my business tenfold. For one, it's organization and the ease of it, and just the professionalism of it is awesome.
Yeah, and that's not even mentioning their customer service is outstanding.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Lee Cherie won the ants and glue giveaway, so I got that stuff shipped out to him this week. So I don't know if you know, probably once or twice a month I do giveaways. So I have the tool manufacturers that kind of give some stuff, donate some stuff, and I kind of do a raffle for guys that watch all the time and make them go like different Facebook pages or comment. And it just seems to really give morale to the guys that watch the show consistently. So it's pretty cool for me to be able to give back,
Yeah.
So one thing I want to touch even before we get into you, I've had a lot of questions about the project me and you are working on. You asked me to come and assist with the project for Maria.
Mm-hmm.
These kind of little video kind of get well cards we're giving is what I've been telling people. How did that whole idea come up? Let's get into that a little bit.
I have no idea.
Just thought of it, and
I you know what I think when we see people hurting in our industry, everybody reaches out. We see everybody reaching out. When you said give back a little bit, I think it's important that all of us give back. I mean, I don't care who you are in this industry. If you're making money from this industry, I feel like it's our duty to give back and give back in any way that we possibly can, as long as it's positive. And that's a family that's, A1 Tools have been around forever. Almost every one of us have probably started off using A1 Tools. Maria's kind of came in the picture more socially in the last couple of years. Her and John are just amazing people. And I think when I heard the story, which was right before Mobile Tech Vegas, I think probably myself, along with all of everybody that's watching that heard about it, it crushed us.
Mm-hmm.
They're beautiful people. It'd be no different if it happened to you or anybody that you know in the industry. You'd want to do anything you can to help. But how can you help somebody? I don't think they really need help, financially. But they certainly need our prayers and our thoughts, well wishes. And I think if we can show that to them, in any possible way we can. I think that's important because they do play a huge part in our industry.
And I think it's
So
the mental health. You know what I mean? Like when we had Cliff on your live Facebook feed, I really think it's the mental aspect of just okay, somebody's thinking of me.
right, yeah.
You know?
Clifton told me something that was really, really important. I think it's important that we all understand this. And we know Maria from being on Facebook. We know her from doing social media stuff. She's a beautiful lady. If she's beautiful inside, she's beautiful outside. And, Clifton said that, when he was burned, um, a guy looks at this and says, you know what, look at my battle wounds, look at my scars. This is kind of cool. A woman is so much on appearance, but there's so much beauty within all of our wives, and beauty's skin deep. It's
Yeah.
the person inside. Same thing with us. I mean, look at me. I'm not no trophy, but the person inside is what matters. And I don't know. I don't know why the thought came up. But I thought working with you would be awesome doing this because I know you've got your followers doing your show.
Yeah.
And if we're gonna, I think what's happened in our industry in the last, especially the last 3 or 4 years, mainly probably the last 3 or 4 years, is we are uniting. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important that if we're going to unite, we unite as one in everything, not just in this or that, but we do it in everything, in every aspect. And I think that's what I think all of us are seeing that. We're not
Yeah.
seeing as much negativity on social media as much.
Yeah.
We're seeing more positive stuff. And I think with a bunch of guys, yourself, everybody was tired of seeing all the negativity, um, and it's time to be positive. It's time to grow together as one.
I mean, you know what really for me, the unity in the industry is awesome. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's you can kind of see a lot of the guys helping each other now. These shows are out, the PDR Tool Time, the PDR College. There's a lot of shows out there.
There are.
Your PDR interviews, and guys are starting to kind of work together more. When I first started, I'm sure when you first got in the industry, everything was hidden.
Yeah.
You can't watch me. You're going to figure it out. I look at the guys now, they're like, do you mind if I watch? And I'm like,
yeah.
If you figure this out in the hour that I'm working on your car, I'm offering you a job.
Yeah. I was taught that nobody watches you,
Yeah.
That was kind of the beginning stages, and then we kind of opened up, and I was like, and to this day, I love bringing customers in and walking them around and show them exactly what we do. Educational,
Yeah.
I think that's huge, and that's important because that's how we educate our customers. That's how we educate our adjusters. That's how we educate the communities that we're working in.
Yeah.
It's show and tell. It's really what this is about, show and tell.
It is. If you guys have not done your video or your text that you want to give to Maria, get it to Randy or I. At the end of the show, I'll put our emails in there so you can email us. Just keep them coming. We're kind of both blowing through them and trying to get them to her once a week. And it's really cool.
It is. And by the way, you killed it on that last one you sent. You did, man. You killed it. I was like, oh man, I got to up my game here. That video was awesome. Yeah, exactly, guys. I don't know how many we have, probably 30 or 40. I don't even know. I haven't counted. We just take them and just send them off to her, put them together. And I think last week I sent 2, and this week we got another one. The one that you made last week, that'll go out this week to her.
Cool.
And we have a few more, and it's awesome. It's just good to do good.
It takes a little bit of time to do the edit work, but it's totally worth it. You just feel after you do it, you feel good. You know what I mean? You're just doing right. That's as easy as it is. And I appreciate you including me in on it. You know what I mean? When we talked, I was like, yeah, that's awesome.
Ryan, it's an honor. It's really cool when we did talk about it. You're like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. And to find other people that will help, man, that's key. So anybody that's watching, if you want to be more involved in the industry, the only one holding you back is yourself.
Yeah.
And the group of guys, that's in our industry is just dynamic. And everybody, I have to say, almost everybody that I meet wants to give back in
Mhm.
some type of way. So here's an opportunity.
And I say this a lot on a lot of my shows, and we are so lucky to, granted, our industry is very niche. It's a niche, small market, but we are so lucky to have companies out there and just techs that care. I mean, I watched Facebook Live with Ray Sapnew, and Matt Moore sent him a box of cookies. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Just that type of
Yeah.
there's a lot of things. There's a bunch of guys on here that John Scotto from RPM Dent Repair. We'll talk on the phone for hours, or Jason from
Yeah.
Dentline, just talk about dent stuff.
Yeah.
So we're very lucky to have an industry that guys are so passionate and want to help each other.
Yeah.
So one of the guys were
It's all-
asking, where can they see the PDR interviews? It's on your
just a
Facebook page.
deal. It's PDR interviews is on Facebook. Yeah, it's just Facebook. I don't do anything fancy with it. I do the recordings and I do a lot of clipping and cropping. I try to release one a week. I've been pretty consistent releasing one each Monday morning, and it's a Facebook page.
And let me tell you, this guy asked some serious questions. I think almost every guest you've had them stumped, and you just see their wheels turning in their head trying to figure out the answer. I just watched the one with you had Q from Q's Dent Repair on there, and
Yeah.
you could see him in his head. He's like, I don't quite know exactly how to answer this.
It's yeah, they're kind of brain dusters. Some of them can be a little bit brain dusters, and some of them can be emotional, and some of them are just basic questions of when you got involved in it, and just gives us a little history of one another.
Yeah. And one thing I want to do is I want to tell you I appreciate you just because of when I was starting this show, there were a lot of people that blasted me on Facebook just saying, Randy's been doing this for a year and you're copying, and you jumped right in and commented. And we're like, look, it's a different thing. Give them a chance. It can't, you can't go wrong with more information. And I appreciate it.
The truth is it wouldn't matter if it was identical. It's positive, and it just doesn't matter. Look, if we get 10 or 15 people doing this, or 30 or 100, as long as it's positive, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I don't, and anybody that knows me and works with me knows I have no issue calling anything out. I'm not the Mr. Nice Guy all the time. It may look like it and everything, but I love people, but I don't have an issue calling people out. So, but I think if we do it professionally and respectfully, I believe that's what it's all about. Our industry, we have to be viewed as a profession.
Yeah.
And if you don't handle yourself professionally, you'll never be viewed as a professional.
No. So let's get down to the nitty and gritty. I have a couple tools I want to go into real quick.
Okay.
I've been using Igor's carb crown. I don't know what it's called, the carb knockdown, and it's got a leather tip on it. I bought it from Kiko at MTE. This thing is freaking awesome. It hits crowns very different than like an average knockdown, or even Chad from Endeavor Tools Crown Jewel. I use that a lot, but this thing is unique. I guess with the leather, it's distributing the metal a little differently, a little softer. So if you don't have one, get one. You will thank me because it's just an awesome knockdown.
Can you hold that up to your camera?
Yeah.
Can you hold that up to the camera? Just kind of, there you go. Nice. Very good. Yep.
It's got a little rubber thing so it doesn't back off the knockdown, and it's just the tip. He did have one a couple years ago that was a full knockdown, but I don't know if he's gone to just this tip. I'm not sure. I know Igor makes every single one by hand, so got a little bit of a chore on himself. The other thing I just started using was the Quick Willie's door jammer. Bobby Willie actually made this one with the orange. I really appreciate it. It's kind of a surprise. But I used this in the B&D. So I was using the B&D door jammer or prop and lock, and it would get jammed up. It's really not made for doors. So I ended up getting this, and I really enjoyed the length of it. You know, it gives you good length in the door opening, and it's pretty well made. I mean, with carbon, you can never go wrong. It extends really well. It's got aluminum ends on it to where it tightens pretty good. There is a little bit of give here. So it's not 100% solid in all the cars. Hondas, it seems like it's the one that moves the most, but it's still not like the old. I remember using a pair of vice grips with an eye hoop on the very end, and the door would move around, or the red Steck hood and prop thing. But this thing's pretty cool. It's a great tool. That's it. Let's get into a little bit of you, Randy. Let's get into your history and how you got into paintless dent repair, how long you've been in the business.
Wow. Well, I started in 93, 94. Went through some pretty tragic things in my life before that, a couple years. And I was detailing cars, and I saw Jeff Durham Jeff Durham of Dent Wizard had came into our spot with Greg Maravelli. Came into our dealership, and they were doing dents, and I was like, how in the world? And Greg would never let me see anything. And, that's how I first saw it. And then Jeff came in there, and he was a little bit cooler than Greg because he let me see how it actually worked. And that was the first time I saw it. And then I was like, as a detailer, and, what was that? Probably 91, 92. I was like, how can I get involved in this? And I responded to a ad in the newspaper for Dents Express, which is Matt Wilson.
Okay.
And that's who I work for now. He's a great, great man. And we're in St. Louis. We have a couple shops, but I just came back on board with him back in March. Other than that, I was out on my own from 94 all the way through till March. And paintless dent removal changed my life. It gave me a great career, a great way to make money to support my family. And that's how I got involved in it. And I'm very, very thankful for it. So for everything it's given me, I hope I can give every ounce of that back to the industry. I hope it helps anybody and everybody that it can help.
So when you're in that transition, so right now, what are you doing? So you're at Don Kavanaugh's, and
Right.
what are you doing right now for him? What exactly are you guys trying to accomplish while you're there?
Okay, wow, so much. Learn as much as we can from one another, I would say is the number one thing. I didn't come up here to make money, and I can say that that's what Clifton Atkins and Paul and Tim Cordon and Ray Sapnew, the guys that are up here, we didn't come up here to make money. We came up here to learn from one another. And none of us knew that until we got up here. But I made that very clear to Matt when I was talking about Matt about this opportunity, because I was out in Colorado. And, I wanted to learn from other people. When I haven't pushed a dent in 2 years, I have a tear in my rotator cuff, and it's going to be repaired hopefully before Thanksgiving. And so the years of pushing, I want to see what happens next. You see so many guys that have to retire and they're selling cars or whatever. I don't want to get out of the industry. I'm happy not to push a dent. I'm probably one of the very few guys that say that. But I want to take it, and I want to understand more the legalities of what we're facing as an industry when it comes to insurance companies and the claims, and how. And I mean this in a most legit way. That's one thing, like Paul Cordon and these guys. I have not seen anybody write anything that's not legit with damage. And I've worked with guys that write ghost dents all the time, and it's just not an honest thing to do.
No.
When we can make the money by legitly writing the damage up, and that's where PAD comes up for price of dent. That's through Mobile Tech. We learned a lot of that from Paul on this this trip here. My battery's going to die. Hold on. I thought it was plugged up. Sorry, guys.
It happens. That's what happens when we're live.
It should be plugged up now. We'll see what it says. All right. So that's the purpose of coming up here. And I think all of us put our heads together. We'll put a system together. The key is running storms smoothly. And this one has tested everybody's ability. And it has went smooth because we've incorporated a lot of new things. My goal for myself, um, I'm the hail coordinator for St. Louis now with Matt Wilson at Dents Express. And our goal is to run storms as successfully and as smooth as possible. And then and on the other side, where it's not hailing in St. Louis, we want to make this where we reach out to other people and work with other companies, especially those that have brick and mortars or have large accounts that need help. I'm a great guy to come in for a couple weeks or a couple months until that rush gets over. I've been here for 2 months. The rush starts lightening down next week. And Don will be able to handle it from that point on. So that's where I'll just bow out and I might stay a couple more days. I was supposed to leave on Sunday, but we kind of talking and maybe they make this transaction a little bit easier, stay a couple more days and make sure it goes smooth.
So
But
you're
everything that we've learned, we want to bring out to other places too. So we can teach people, if you have, if you're a mobile tech and your area gets hit with hail, how many times did your area get hit with hail and you really don't know what to do, but you see these companies come in and take over.
Oh yeah.
But if you have a retail location and you've really never done hail or you've done hail, um, it's crazy. It's crazy the amount of work you put in a day, and the front office part has to run smooth. Otherwise, nothing's going to run smooth.
So are you handling the estimates? Are you handling the customers? What is actually your role there?
So when Don called me, I was out in Denver running a storm up there, and he said, it hailed here, and he goes, I've always wanted you to come in and work with us, and I talked to him about that in the past, and I said, I'm sorry, I can't do it because I was on a storm. There's only one of me, and he said, before you make a decision, I want you to send the names of who's coming, and he did, and I called Matt and said, Matt, what can we do here? So. Gray, Matt's son, we let him stay in Colorado and finish that storm, him and Fred Delaney. And then I came out here and I forget what year I said. What was your question, Ryan?
I said, what are you actually doing for him there? Are you handling the customer? Are you handling
Everything from welcoming the customer in, selling it to the customer. The guys write the estimates. When I do all the supplements, when the adjusters come out there, we all basically, I'd probably say I work with about 80% of the adjusters negotiating with them. If I take it, sometimes I turn into the bad guy when I get a little frustrated. So I need somebody to kind of come in and level it out, bring a little bit more professionalism if I do lose it. Because I'm human. And this is when you're negotiating back and forth and you've been working the same prices for 20 years, it's a little frustrating trying to explain this to every one of these adjusters. And we deserve more. Our value is more. We deserve more. Price Ident has helped that out immensely, but standard pricing has helped that out too. And I'm a huge advocate for us to be paid what we deserve because what we do is better than a body shop. And there's not even every body shop out there would rather have their cars PDR'd if it had a hailstorm or had a big nasty dent in it versus painting. And every one of them will tell you that. That means our value is higher than theirs. I'm not saying we're better than them, but our value should be higher. So why are we cheaper? And I guess just in the last few years, I've become more passionate about that. So whatever I can learn to bring back and help others, that's what it's all about.
Now, do you miss pushing dents?
Not at all.
No?
Not at all. No, I certainly don't.
So were you mainly hail or were you mainly like a door dinger?
So I did 10 years of door dinging. And then in 2003, 2001, I basically went full time hail chasing hail. I did some storms before that, but hail hit our area in 2001 in St. Louis, hit it again in 2003, and that was enough to keep me there. But after I lost a couple of accounts, it kind of took the wind out of me. And I basically, from that point on, went straight to chasing hail.
Yeah.
So
That's a hard life too, you know.
it's a very hard life. When you ask what am I doing here, I basically bring anything I can to the table. The 25 years plus of PDR, the experience. Um, I would say every one of these guys say I've brought stuff to the table, and I'd say every one of these guys brought stuff to the table. And knowledge is power. So
I'll tell you, Don is so lucky that he has that A team there. I mean, you could not ask for a better group of guys to have in one location.
simply amazing. Every one of these guys. There has not been any headbutting. You have to be open. I'm doing all the office work, the making sure that everything's paid correctly and so forth. And Clifton and Ray, everybody will kind of re-go over this stuff. You have to be open to it. You're going to make mistakes. Everybody's going to make mistakes, no different than technicians losing or missing a.
Looks like we've lost Randy. There you go.
No, I should be back. Sorry, my phone rang. I don't know how to turn my phone off. Sorry.
It's all good.
So, you just have to. I don't even know what the question was after that phone call.
It was. I was asking you about just the A team that he has there. It's
Yes,
unbelievable.
that's what I was saying. Yeah, and you have to be. Everybody's going to make mistakes, and you have to accept corrective criticism. That's all there is to it.
Yeah,
And these guys are terrific.
He has some of the most passionate guys. You know, I mean Cliff and Ray, and I mean those guys. You can't say there isn't anything bad to say. You know what I mean? I mean it's legitimately just when he said who was coming up right after the storm, and I was like, how did you make that happen? But it is Don Cavanaugh, so I understand why it happened.
He just smiles and says, "Oh, come on, buddy."
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, they're all wonderful people, just wonderful men. They really are.
We've got Q in here watching. He was just saying how he enjoyed your interview. If you guys haven't seen that interview, you need to get over to the PDR interviews page and watch his interview he just put up this week.
I never met Q till that day. He came in. He's an awesome guy. He's an awesome guy. Really liked him. That was a fun interview, and and that's what I have to say is, somebody asked me the other day, they said, how do you pick your people to interview? And I'm like, anybody wants to be on. I want to hear everybody's story.
Exactly. It's interesting because like when I started this thing, I wanted to get a lot of the younger guys that have these struggles, that are knocking on doors every day and getting kicked in the teeth and getting discouraged or having issues with managers, and bringing that stuff on. And there's 20 people in here and they can help him kind of work through this. I had the same problem. This is how I dealt with it. So it's the same thing here. Any of these guys, I tell them all the time, if you want to get on, come on, let's talk, get it out there and get that information out. And even if it's a guy in the same market as you, I'm open arms here. You know what I mean? I try to help everybody out. So with you being there with Don and you guys implementing that price of dent, what is your full feeling on that with the insurance companies?
So I can tell you, I'd never done it before. I absolutely 100% believe in it. We are seeing insurance companies completely change the way they're writing it. I wish I had an example here in front of me. To where they're still, we saw Allstate the other day, yesterday, and I'm going to say Allstate because Allstate's pretty tough. Most of them are all tough, but I've always struggled with Allstate, arguing over a nickel, dime, quarter.
Yes.
I mean, just wasting my time, and I always win because I'm not trying to get anything that's not fair. So they came in the other day, and the lady said, the adjuster was there, and she's like, I already know we're going to dance back and forth. And I said, and we're still going to come out the same outcome, which is we're going to win. I can say I've never lost a battle when it comes to an insurance company because the repairs are legit. But what I saw the other day blew my mind away, and that's with Allstate. And they wrote their own count on there. And I don't remember what it was, 6 to 15, for example, on the hood. But this was every panel they did this to. And they wrote 6 to 15 with their price. And it said conceded. And then they added another line underneath it. And it wrote conceded to labor negotiations. And that's where they wrote the difference of what I was asking for.
Oh.
To me, that was probably the biggest victory I've had in the last 25 years. So they will write it, you guys. You have to stay firm. Make sure everything is completely legit. And anything that, so we're looking at anything that's 3 inches. If that dent measures out at 3 inches, I'm putting in a price of dent. Now, it's working with every one of them. Now, some of the adjusters are afraid they're going to get in trouble for the way they're writing these things. But when you explain to them that a dent on a vehicle, if it hits the body line, even if it just touches the body line, that's off their matrix. There's nothing on any of their matrices that speak about that.
Mm-hmm.
So right there, you could really tell them that, hey, that's over exceeds your own matrix. So replace the panel. And you have to hold your ground. Now, we also have an agreement with the customer, and that's why they come to a PDR shop, is because they want PDR. You have to sell PDR to them. This is one of the biggest keys that we have to do. We have to sell PDR. You have to explain it to the customers, because you may have to go into a little bit of a battling situation trying to get the insurance company to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not going to work if that customer doesn't back you up 100%.
Yeah.
And if you can get the customer to back you up 100%, now you have a little bit more playing field. And so one of the first things that I try to do is to get the customer to really understand PDR. That's why I do a lot of show and tell, to get them to understand PDR and to understand that that is the best solution for their vehicle. But like I said earlier, our value is higher than repainting. So I stress that as well too.
I think it's definitely easier when you have the customer behind you, because when you're not getting the answer that you need, you get a hold of the customer, and most of the time they get what they want.
Right.
So, and I had one for State Farm that I had to do that I had to call the customer and have the customer call claims and fight. And I ended up getting what I wanted. But, at the end of the day, you try to make that process seamless and
Right.
as easy on the customer as you can. But sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes the insurance companies, the estimators, make it really difficult.
How many times have you written something, you wrote something up? Here's American Family. I'm not trying to bury any of these companies, but these are facts that we're dealing with, and this is what we have all the time. We're fighting this all the time. But how many times and I'm going to say American Family as an example. When you write, I'll never forget this. A few years ago, it just rings in my mind, and how many times they've taken advantage of me, how many times I let them take advantage of me. But I had 3 small dents in front of the gas cap, and I said I want glue pulling for that. You're not going to get in front of that glass cap unless you drill a hole and go on the opposite side, and I won't do that. That's the old style. And they wanted to pay $75 just for it, and they refused to glue pull. And I said, you know what? Write it up for conventional.
Yep.
And the ladies, and that was a lady there, and this is another one of their favorite things is, so if I send a supplement in, I'm writing glue pull on every single panel. Every panel I do. And the reason I do this is because they're going to come back and tell me no. But I want proof. I want proof that I said that it needed to be glue pulled. And they come out and they won't pay me for it. If it's aluminum, if it's high strength steel, whatever, I try to get whatever add-on I can get. The last one I'm going to go after is glue pull. And here's the reason why. I already put it on there, and they've kicked it out. Now, if our team cannot get that dent out, I don't want them fixing it. I would rather deliver that car back to the customer and tell them that their insurance company refused to fix that. Guess what? It gets fixed, and guess what? Now I'm going to supplement it for the 1 to 5 dents, and I'm going to get glue pulling on that, and you're going to make more money. But you have to stay firm. You have to be strong. You can't waver, and you just have to be steadfast in what you really, really believe.
And I think sometimes you have to know when to walk away, when to put your hands up. You know, I just had a Subaru Forester, hail all over the side of it. I mean, it was just really hit on the side. 3 dents in the gas door. He included the gas door in the quarter and would not pay me to fix it. So we went rounds and we went rounds and went rounds. And I had pictures from the dealer when you get the cutaway of the quarter. I'm like, the gas door is not included in this quarter. If I buy this quarter from the dealer right now, it doesn't include the gas door. It's a separate part. Fighting me. So I said, you know what? I'm done. Paint the gas door and fix it. Or replace the gas door. And you know what he says? Well, then we're going to have to paint the quarter. We're going to have to blend the quarter. And I said, okay, do it. I ended up getting what I wanted. But sometimes these guys just don't know. They just don't know. You know, there's a lot of guys and girls in the industry that are estimators. Geico's famous for bringing people in that have no car industry, have never even changed a tire, and train them. And you get to a point in your market, you know, me as a local tech, is I try to befriend all of the adjusters in the area and kind of train them, kind of walk them throughout the year.
Here's something interesting. The first 100 cars that we've done here in Minnesota, how many do you think was written correctly, and how many of them was written close, and how many of them did we have to supplement out of the first 100 cars?
0 were right.
Okay.
0 were close, and all of them you had to supplement.
So 1 was overwritten. Okay. 1 was overwritten just by hair, a couple $100. 3 were within $300, and we just went ahead and did them, but they should have been supplemented, so they were written low. The other 96 we had to supplement. You know, the other day, and I did a video on this last year, but Progressive put something out. Look, I'm not bad talking them, I'm talking facts.
Yeah.
Progressive puts it out and it says, "Dear Mr. Customer, we finished your estimate." Now, I did a video on this last year, and it kind of went a little viral, 2,000-3,000 views on it. Which for me, that's viral. I see 100 views, I'm like, woohoo! But this thing had like I don't know, I think it had 3,000 views on it. This is Progressive. Their opening line to their customer: "Mr. Smith, we have finished your repair estimate. It's okay not to repair the vehicle." That's their opening line. Okay. The last line, on the very, very last line. Now, on this one that I'm talking about the other day, his name wasn't Smith, but the other one that just came in the other day, they gave the customer $2,500, maybe $2,400. It was a $7,500 claim. It's what we end up getting paid for. When you have to do that much, and here's what really gets me, is the last line on Progressive's thing. It talks about fraudulent activities.
Yes.
That you cannot do this to an insurer, but we see this almost 100% of the time.
Yep.
So what can we do to change this? One thing we have to do, we have to be united. You got to pay attention to stuff like this. You've got to try it. You got to stay, you got to get stronger and stronger. You got to get sharper and sharper. I'm reading this book and Paul Cordon put me onto this. I'm reading this if I can get it lined up.
Oh there. Yeah.
Delay, deny, defend. And as you can see, I'm not through it too much because I dissect books. And this talks about all the stories about it. This is probably the wrong book for me to read because I'm already passionate about this. So,
and we have Mike Toledo in here, and he's big with consistency. And it's the same thing with the insurance company.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's we have a lot to learn. And I wish I knew what I knew today 20 years ago. I wish everybody would get on the bandwagon of trying to learn versus just being the tech in the back trying to absorb work. If you would
Hmm.
spend some time trying to learn about this industry and trying to learn how to fight these things, we could grow together stronger and better. That's one of the most exciting things about coming. When Don asked me to come, that's the only reason I came, was to learn, and if you guys would try to learn and make just, it's the only way we're going to get better, and stronger and more united. So I love the idea that they are still on their 20-year-old price price matrix. I love it. I absolutely love it. I don't. It's a great tool. It means absolutely nothing. Those matrix from 20 years ago mean absolutely nothing. You're a fool if you take that money, because you can get way more. And if you're in a DRP shop, here's another thing. Let's talk about price event. If you're in a DRP shop, you're a fool if you're not using the price event to get the added prices for over a 2.5 inch dent. So once it hits 3 inches, you're gonna make a ton of money. And you know what? It's off their matrix. They can't argue with you. They try to, but they don't know how to. So
Now how is that working? So if you have a hood and you write the estimate and it's almost maxed with the regular hail, and then you add another 250 for that dent, but it puts it over the cost and
yep,
replacement. How are
yep.
they taking that?
Well, first of all, you have to have your customers on board with you, and they have to sign off on something when they drop the vehicle off to you. And it has to state that they understand that they've chosen paintless dent removal for this repair. So you don't bring it in unless you know you can fix it. Second of all, it's going to say that they understand that there's going to be an indifference. There could be indifferences in the way that the insurance company writes it versus the way you're going to repair it by using the PDR method. And as long as you have that and it's in pretty good writing, um, it's the customer's choice on who repairs the vehicle, because that's a state law in every state. And it's a customer's choice of how the vehicle is repaired. So the insurance company can't really tell you how to do it. Only thing they can say, and only thing they can really control, is if it reaches that ceiling of replacement, they have to pay for that, because that's the most cost effective way to repair that panel. And so if it's replacement, that's at that choice, it becomes your choice. Is it worth your time to put it into it?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. That's huge. I've
Yeah.
had some that have gone over a little bit and they're like, oh, it's cheaper to replace it. And I'm like, I don't see how,
I, I had an adjuster argue with me the other day, and he's just crazy. He's not crazy. He's doing what he's being taught to do. But he told me, he said, PDR should never be more expensive than replacement.
It's so crazy. It's so
I just
crazy.
kind of chuckled. All you can do is chuckle. You have to understand your value.
Yeah.
We have to understand our value as an industry. Yeah, I'm big on that. I'm really,
I,
really big on that.
I had a conversation with a young tech. I get a lot of the younger techs that reach out and ask questions, and I try to help them through. I've got a couple years under my belt, and he did a hail car, and he's got a ton of time in this roof. Okay, he spent a ton of time in this roof, and I said, why did you even take that on? He's only like he's a 2 or 3 year tech. Why did you even take that on? He's like, oh, well, the roof paid $2,400 or $2,500. I didn't think it was going to be that difficult. And I said, you're going to learn what is worth your time. While you've spent 20 or 30 hours on this car, at the end of the day, you're looking at that number at the bottom of that invoice. But what could you have been doing if you were going to struggle that bad on a panel? You almost have to figure out your worth individually of, okay, this panel is going to take me this long. Is it worth my time for that amount?
Right.
It's difficult for the younger guys, because they're like, man, I can make $2,000 off this roof. Yeah, but
Right.
it took you a week.
Right. I
So
think that's just something as you learn as you go. And I that's true. I see your point there. I think that's life's lessons teach you the best.
yeah,
And I think that's something that we all learn in time. I mean, look, I can't even push because of my shoulder anymore from pushing big crashes and just so much big hits and hail. But would I take any of that back? No, because if anything, it's given me more passion now I think the guys, here in Minnesota would say that I definitely have a lot of passion. I stand up for them. I stand up for the customer and stand up for uh, the right things that should happen. But these right things, and the reason I stand up is because of my life lessons that I've learned from pushing.
Yeah.
And I hope the younger guys can listen to us, and I hope it's a better tomorrow for them than what it has been for us for the last 15, 20 years.
Where do you we're gonna gotta where do you see the industry going from here with the price of dent and like we were saying before, how the industry's kind of united? What is your predictions?
Well, I think with price of dent, I think with everything that Mobile Tech RX has done and all the software companies, I know we give Mobile Tech RX a big shout out, but really all of them deserve a big shout out. Anybody that's trying to think of bettering our industry, uh, you know, hats off to them. Where is our industry going? Um, I don't know that for sure. Interviewing people, I've asked that a lot, and I don't know if I really have a really clear view of where it's going. I will say this. I think, you know what? I say this, I've said this a couple times. Ian Cordell on one of the interviews says, just keep this train moving. And I love where we're at, and I do love where we are going. Precedent has opened up my eyes. Paul Cordon, I had the opportunity to work with Paul, and I talked with Paul this morning and earlier today, and I told Paul, I said, Paul, I would have never brought you on a storm. And he kind of chuckled and said, why? And I said, I felt a little inferior of him. I didn't want him to come into a storm and think, afraid that he's not going to make enough money. I think we have fear inside of us as whether you own your own company. I don't know what the deal is. It's
Yeah.
competition. You don't want to look bad on somebody. I'll say one thing about Don Cavanaugh, man. He's not shy, man. He brought in some heavy hitters, and
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from this. I've learned a lot from this, and I think all of us have. And I think the biggest thing is we in our industry just keep it moving. Let's see what happens. I'm not afraid of the future at all. Matter of fact, if I was afraid of the future now that I can't push and I don't want to push, I wouldn't be in it.
Yeah.
I think we have a very, very strong future. I think the young guys coming into it. I think if you want to, here, I'm going to put it like this. Uh, if you want to be in this in the future, you better pay attention. You better take off your blindfolds and pay attention because our industry's changing, vehicles have changed, everything's changing. And if you don't stay up in the game with scanning and with everything that's happening with all of our, the sensors and vehicles and everything, you're gonna lose. I don't care if you've been doing it for
Yes.
25 years. I don't care if you've been doing it for 10 years. If you're not paying attention to stuff and if you're not trying to educate yourself, uh, and in the pricing sector of it, um, why are you in it?
Yeah.
Then you're not really in this as a profession. So pay attention to that. I hope everybody hears that. Start, sharpening your knife, sharpening your skills.
And I think the thing I'm really enjoying in the industry from the couple years I've been in it is like we said before, everybody being united, working together. The information Mike Toledo's putting out every single day. The PDR Tool Time guys, the PDR College. I remember listening to PDR College, and I still go back and I still make my new guys listen to some of the episodes that really clicked for me. It made me think about things differently and really take it in. And what I'm enjoying is, like I said before, everything was hidden. Now everything's out, and guys are kind of putting information out and trying to help each other. And it's just super nice,
Yeah.
It's just nice that it's nice for the new guys. It's nice for us, but it's also scary for us all old dogs because new guys are learning faster, repairing cars faster, growing
They are.
faster in the
Yeah.
industry. It's pretty
Yeah, they
scary, you
are.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, we had Manny in here. He's only a couple years in, won
Yeah.
the dent trials at MTE in Vegas, and he is fixing smashes and doing really well. You know, I mean, it's just scary how fast these younger guys are catching on.
It blows my mind away. Uh, when I think about how long it took me to learn it, and you see a young guy that has been pushing that long, and he's doing what you did in after 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and he's been doing it for a year or two. So
It's you young guys are super lucky. You're super
yeah,
lucky. Just I tell guys all the time, I said, just absorb it, be a sponge, absorb every lick of content that you can because it wasn't out there, you know.
yeah. Oh my
It's
goodness,
been
talk about it. It wasn't out there. I mean, just everything has changed. I mean, you know, as a hail chaser, we have hail trace, we have hail recon.
mhm.
Um, we have these options now that we never had. I mean, I was telling this on one of the other shows. I said, they said when you started out, like kind of what happened, and I said, man, when it started out, I was watching the Weather Channel round the clock. If I heard it hailed in Fort Smith, I drove to Fort Smith. I drove around for 3, 4 days trying to find out where the hail happened. You know, and then somebody taught me about NOAA. I found out about the NOAA reports. So then I would go up to the library and I'd take my ruler on an atlas and I'd go like this, you
Oh
know, to
my
whatever the latitude
gosh.
longitude lines was, and I'd try to pinpoint where that came in. Now, little do you know that if you guys are out there thinking it's so easy just working off NOAA, you got to realize that a lot of those reports that you see on NOAA for where it hails are pinged off of cell towers, and they're not really true push pins of where those things. They could be 10 miles away. So I did a lot of miles and a lot of dry runs looking for all these invisible hail reports. We are so lucky. Uh, yeah, I see Mike right there. Yeah, so lucky. We are so lucky of where we are today, and I it's just amazing when I look back of our advertising and just everything
Yeah.
of what's brought us to where we are today. That cell phone is amazing because you got all the power right there in your hand.
It's also difficult. I had this conversation with another tech, and I said how business right now, to run a business, a service business like we have, is so much harder now because you have Facebook Messenger, Instagram Messenger, Snapchat, Twitter, email, text message, your website. There's so many ways for people to get a hold of you. And sometimes
Yeah,
as a small tech, it's hard to keep up with that. You know, so it's a little harder, but on the other end, I think you generate more business that way too. You know, I had a repair today
absolutely.
that
Yeah,
found me off of Instagram. You know, it's
yeah,
free. It's free.
yeah.
You have events like the Mega Media event that helps these guys. There's a bunch of guys in here that have been there and help them with their social media, with their website, with their how they're presenting things to customers. You know, events like that are key for the smaller guys that are really trying to grow.
It certainly is. There's so much information out here for everybody, and you know, again, I'm just going to say we're just extremely lucky. You know, everybody that's into this, that's doing this stuff. I mean, very little amount of people are really making any money out of giving all this information up. It's taken years to get it, and even if they are charging, trust me, it's not worth the time that they have in it. They're really doing it to
Yeah.
help people, and I hear different communications on that stuff, and I'm like, man, you know, years of experience comes with a price. It really does,
Hmm.
and if somebody pays for something, they're more apt to use it.
Yeah.
You know, that's true. So,
Manny's
um,
asking, looking back, would you rather do door dings or hail?
you know, I get asked that quite a bit, and I'm going to be 100% honest here. Um, I would I would definitely just do door dings. Um, don't if you're asking that, if people are asking that, if you're married and if you have kids, don't go chase hail. Don't. It is a bad drug that you'll get addicted to. You live in hotel rooms all over the country. I wouldn't do that again. I'm glad that I did it, so I can say this. But I can tell you that life on the road, when you're on the road for 6 months, sometimes 9 or 10 months, sometimes a year, um, chase and hail is, and I told this the other night, we all talked about this. This is like a bad drug. You can get addicted to it, and these addictions can lead you far away from your kids, far away from your wife, far away from relationships that you've had. Relationships that you have around you are more important than anything. Your family's more important than anything. And you're talking about a guy that's been divorced. Uh, I love my kids to death, and I'm super blessed that I've met a woman who is just unbelievable. To have that second chance is is the most important thing to me. If I could redo it, I would have never left St. Louis. I would have just continued doing door dings. I came back and working for Matt Wilson, who trained me. I did a full circle. I'm happy to be back. I have the opportunity to go out and do hail gigs with people to help them. But I'm not here for long term. I'm here for just to help them and help them um, run something smooth and hopefully learn. And I'll learn from them too. So if you're married and you have kids, uh, if you're going to do it, make sure you get home a lot. So
Now, I think a lot of that's going to change. I think big smashes right now for the door dinger. I think in the next couple years, the stuff that guys are fixing, I think the money's going to keep growing. You know, more money for
absolutely.
larger repairs. So it's hard. I mean, I get asked every year. Some of my shops say, why don't you go travel and do hail? And I'm like, why? It usually comes to me almost every year. I'd rather sleep in my
Right.
own bed. You know,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard work out there.
If you're single and ready to mingle, um, and you can budget money, um, I think it's fantastic. I think it's a great opportunity for everybody. If but man, look, I've done this since I've done it for a long time. I miss my kids growing up. I miss the baseball games. I miss the hockey games. I miss them growing up. I can't get that back.
Hmm.
And it's not worth any money in the world. I've got 10 grandchildren now. Uh, I got 10 grandkids. I can't even, you know, um, barely can I still even make it back to one of their games because they live all over the place. Now
Yeah.
my kids are growing. I got one in Kansas City. I got the other four all over St. Louis. And I can't be there for family activities all the time. Uh, so that's the life I chose. So if you want to chase money and that's what you want to do, be ready. That's what you're in for. I don't know if it's worth it.
Now, with the hail, do you think it's money driven, or do you think it's guys don't want to do the door ding and route and hail's just easy?
I think that's up to each person that's doing it. I wouldn't know how to answer that for everybody, but uh, the the money is good. But be careful with what you hear when you hear people say, "Oh, I make $300,000, $400,000." Let me tell you what, the hail is up and down, and you
Mhm.
might do $200,000 one year, and you might struggle to even get on a job the next year. I know guys that's been doing this for years, and you know what? And it was a good year this year. I know a couple guys didn't even work this year.
Last year was a
Imagine that.
bad hail year. You know, I mean, you could
Yeah,
see the difference at MTE as in
right?
attendance and sales of tools. So, and
Yeah.
and I think the weather it affects everything. You know, it affects the tool sales. It affects even your local market. The hail guys. So I think when it's a dry year and it's very light on hail in different markets, you have some hail guys that are at home trying to pick up work too. So it's
Hmm.
affecting the local guys. So you know, it's what also kills me with the hail industry is you hear all the time uh, the broker situations that are out there, guys that are getting ripped off, and you know,
Yep.
it's terrible. You've got to make sure you're with the right group of guys.
I'm gonna make a comment on that, and most guys won't like this because they get caught working for those guys. You're doing it to yourself. If you guys are out there and you're complaining about this broker and that broker, quit working for them.
Yeah.
Quit working for them. If they're whoring the market out, quit working for them. Just quit doing it. But I've got guys that make great money with me, but if I don't have nothing for them, they go get whored out, and all they do is cry about it. You know, it's stupid. If you know your value, you're not going to do it. Be good, invest your money correctly, pay your taxes. Taxes is the number one thing. You got to pay your taxes. You start falling behind on that, you won't even recover.
Yeah.
Then just invest, you know. Just be good with your money. You're going to make great money, but there's going to be months and years that you don't make as great money. So
well said. Well said. So we're getting towards the end of the show here. I want to do a little touches. There are a couple events that are coming up. You have the Mega Media event in Colorado. You have the PDR World Cup in Missouri and Branson. You have the MTE in Orlando, which you said you're going to be there, Randy.
Yes.
You're going to have to sign some autographs now.
No, I ain't no different you.
And you have the Stanliner event that is the week of MTE. Week of MTE Orlando. So I'm super excited. I'm speaking at the Mega Media event. I'm super excited for that event. It should be really interesting. I'm kind of interested to see other people's thoughts on business and ideas to grow my own business. You know, I'm an open book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're pretty busy here, and I would say I'm successful, but I'm always open to figure out other plans of making things work. So, and the Maria thing, you know, want to get your email out there and my email out there. So if you guys haven't done your video, or if you don't feel comfortable doing a video for Maria, just send a text and we can add that in as part of the video commentary. And what we're doing, if you guys don't know, we're doing a short get well card every week of multiple texts. It's all private. It goes directly to John, like I said earlier in the show. So, you know.
And here's something else. If you guys out there, if you've got kids and your wife, everybody join in on that. Make some things fun. We've seen some guys all join together as, you know, maybe you're working together with a bunch of group of guys. They all got in there and wished her well. But they've got two daughters. Make sure you throw your shouts out, best wishes for the entire family. But if you got kids, throw them in there, man. Kids bring so much life to everything. So we've seen some of them like that, Ryan, that were some of them have brought their kids in and stuff. Man, that is so cool. It's thinking outside of the box. Be fun with it. Bring humor. Put a smile on her face, on the entire family's face. So
look at that. You're going to see Mr. John Scotto tomorrow. How about that?
Yes, I'm excited about that. John's coming here to Minnesota. So is Matt Wilson.
Yeah.
And a couple other guys are coming in town too, which is going to be pretty cool.
That's awesome.
I'm going to see if I get an interview with John.
Uh-oh.
I wonder if he can talk normal. I wonder if he's going to talk like me, or if he's going to talk like,
like he's from Boston.
Funny, yeah. Hey, you know what? Let me give a shout out too, real quick, for John Scotto. Is he watching? Did he say something?
He is.
John, I'm not sure if you heard this or not, but the St. Louis Blues kicked Boston Bruins' tail last year for the Stanley Cup. All right, that's all I want to say. See you tomorrow, John.
I was on the phone with him the other day. I said, "Oh, those Pats are cheaters." So you know how that conversation went. But, I'm from Baltimore, so we got the little Ravens Pats deal going on here. So
everybody's got a deal going on with the Pats.
That's it, man. But no, I really appreciate you coming on, giving your outlook on the paintless dent repair industry, and giving your input. You've got a lot of experience, so guys want to hear that experience and coming forth with everything that's going on with the industry changing with the price of dent, and hopefully
There's so many things to talk about. You know, I mean, there's so many different patterns, and this was cool. Thanks for having me on, and I love what you're doing. Keep it up, and it's awesome, man.
Cool. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all you guys watching. You know,
Yes.
I hope this new time slot's helping you guys out on the West Coast. I had a lot of people at MTE say, "Hey, you know, what would you think about moving it up?" So we moved the time, and we'll keep the giveaways going. And next week we'll definitely have an animated guest. I'm not going to announce it until next week, so it should be pretty interesting. But no, guys, thanks for watching. Next week, 9 Eastern Standard Time. And I will see you guys next week, and keep it real. See you guys. Thank you.